Do you suffer from heel pain when you run? Do you have really bad heel pain whenever you first wake up in the morning? Does the bottom part of your foot along the arch get really sore and sometimes swollen? If so, this video is for you. Hey, I'm Dr. Ian Putney from Wellington Family Chiropractic, and today I'm talking about plantar fasciitis. I've chose this topic because it's really common in some of my patients who are runners, but it's generally pretty common amongst the general population. A lot of my patients deal with this. It can last a long time. It's nagging, hasn't fully gone away, and it can be really painful, especially first thing in the morning, and it can limit your activities and keep you from doing the things you want to do. So today I'm going to talk about some of the things that cause it, some of the muscles that typically get weak, what you can do to restore strength to those muscles, and then some self-treatments that should help you get rid of plantar fasciitis for good. All right, so now I'm going to talk about some of the self-releases you can do on that tissue in the plantar fascia. Whenever it gets tight and contracted, we've got to break up some of that tissue. So what you can do is actually work on that by yourself. So if you look right here, a lot of people wonder exactly where it's at. You may not be able to see it on the camera, but as I pull my toes up nice and tight, I can actually see mine right through here. And most people have their issues right inside the heel. So a great stretch for this is actually just take your hand and pull your toes up as far as you can, pulling that tight, and then massage with your thumb from your heel straight through your arch. Now you'll notice that there is some areas that get really sore in there whenever you're dealing with this. There was actually a study done on this that included this stretch, and they found that the test subjects that did this simple stretch of just pulling the toes upward and massaging with the thumb for 10 seconds, 30 times a day, they had really good results long-term with their plantar fasciitis. I know not everybody's going to do that 30 times a day, but it goes to show you it's a simple stretch, but getting in there and working on that, hey, shoot for 30 times a day, might just clear up your plantar fascia or fasciitis. The other thing you can do is take a lacrosse ball or a tennis ball, or at home you can even take a frozen water bottle and you just roll the length of your arch, really focusing on getting a lot of pressure right into that tissue where it's sore at the base or on the inside of your heel. Like I've got a really good spot right there. And if I just work on that, I can feel it let up a little bit. So just rolling back and forth. This rolling technique can be done every night. 2 to 3 minutes of good rolling is usually enough. So between the two, those are really effective stretches on, again, lengthening that tissue, taking some of the contracted fibers out of there and helping you with your pain. So now we're going to talk about the muscle groups that get weak and then what you can do to work on those. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about a couple muscle groups that are typically weak in our population of patients with plantar fasciitis. Those two muscle groups or muscles, one is called the flexum digitorum brevis. Long word, all that means is it flexes or curls your toes down. That muscle typically gets weak, and whenever it gets weak, when you're running or walking, you put more force into the plantar fascia because that muscle actually helps slow down the extension of your toes, decreases the amount of force through the foot, and when it's weak, you get more wear and tear on the plantar fascia. And the other muscles are called the peroneals, and basically, without going into too much detail with them, they're responsible for this outward movement of my foot like this. Most people with plantar fasciitis have problems in those two muscles or muscle groups. So I'm going to show you some quick exercises that you can do to help strengthen them. You just need a flat band. You can buy these about anywhere. You can get them on Amazon these days. They usually come in a couple different thicknesses or resistance. And so to work on the flexor digitorum, remember it's on the bottom of the foot right next to the plantar fascia. It brings our toes down. So what we're going to do is we're going to get all our toes pulled up by the band. If you'll notice, my big toe there is, I'll scoot back just a little bit. If you notice, my big toe is still out. So we're just working those outer toes, And right now they're pulled up, and then I'm going to push them down. Now you can do it keeping your big toe in motion with all the toes, and the rest of your foot does not move. Or you can try to keep your big toe down and then move, and that's hard. Try to let your toes come all the way up and then push them down. So again, we're keeping the big toe down and working, and that's actually quite challenging with this resistance band. A little easier if I move them all together. What you would do for this exercise is try to do 3 sets of, you might only get 5 reps in depending on how weak it is, but if you could go up to 15, that would be great. You can do this every day. The next exercise is for the peroneal group. What we're going to do is we want to add some resistance moving this way against the foot. So you take the band, create resistance this way with the other foot, and then I'm just taking those muscles in the direction that makes them work. So my heel's staying fairly flat. It's not spinning out this way, and it's just that movement right there. You should feel that muscle group is right here. You should feel that right in that area. So again, we're working that muscle group, trying to keep everything else relatively still. And we're doing that motion, the same deal. 3, you can usually do 10 repetitions, 3 sets. We'll get that muscle, you'll feel it burn. If you're doing it correctly, you should feel it in this part of your leg. You shouldn't feel it in your hip or anything else. Keep that hip still and just isolate that muscle group there. So those are the 2 areas that tend to be weak and is very common with plantar fasciitis, and those are some easy ways you can work on those at home and strengthen them. All right, guys, so the last thing I want to show you that I think can really help with plantar fasciitis is a good loaded stretch for that tissue below the foot, but also even a calf soleus type stretch that you can do at home. So it's best to do it on a step. For this, I have that same band I had in the last exercise rolled up, and I just place my toes on that. You can do it with like a hand towel at home. And what you're going to do is use this leg here to kind of get your foot up, and then you're just going to let that heel slowly drop. And I've got most of my body weight on my left at this point, and I'm just letting that heel go down as far as it can. I'm holding on to the wall with this hand just to stabilize. And I feel that below my foot, but I also feel it in my calf. And then we go back up, come back down. So this is a good stretch. Working on that ankle mobility. If your ankles are stiff, you're more likely to have plantar fasciitis as well. So there you go. A few exercises, some stretches. Pretty easy to do, doesn't take much equipment. And I think that'll help you guys out. We'll talk to you soon.